Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. President Trump signing his big, beautiful bill and the flash flood horror unfolding in Texas. First, the stunning images, floodwaters washing away cars and this home. A daring apparent rescue dangling from a helicopter. Flash floods striking in the night, the Guadalupe River rising nearly 30 feet in just 1 hour. Authorities say more than a dozen people are dead, at least 20 girls missing from an all-girls summer camp. Ryan Chandler on the ground for us, and Bill Cairns on the continued flood threat. Also breaking tonight, signing day at the White House. With the stroke of a pen, President Trump turning his big, beautiful bill into law. The elaborate White House ceremony complete with a flyover by the B-2 bomber. Plus, wildfire fury. Blazes exploding in multiple states at this hour. North of Los Angeles, 70,000 acres burned and counting. Emergency crews fighting the flames from the ground and the sky. Inside a notorious Iranian prison, our Richard Engel with exclusive access inside one of that country's jails that once housed political prisoners. And what we found when we returned to that infamous former U.S. embassy from the Iranian hostage crisis. The dictator's daughter, the child of Kim Jong-un, who could become the first woman to lead North Korea, why South Korean intelligence believes she's likely being groomed for her father's job. Top Story starts right now. Good evening and happy 4th. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. We're coming on the air at the start of this holiday weekend with breaking news on multiple fronts. President Trump signing that mega bill into law. We'll get to that in just a few moments, but we're going to begin with the flooding disaster ongoing in Texas at this hour. The horrifying images out of the Lone Star State tonight. This home washed away by the floodwaters, cars lifted off the ground, sent floating away. This video appearing to capture a daring helicopter rescue. Officials confirming tonight at least 400 emergency workers have been searching for those stranded. Officials say at least 13 people have been killed after flash floods struck in the dark of the night. The waters of the Guadalupe River rising nearly 30 feet in just an hour. Multiple summer camps in the area hit by the floods head on. At Camp Mystic, an all-girls summer camp, more than 20 girls are still missing. The floods leaving devastation in their wake, cars thrown like toys, roofs left hanging off the sides of homes. All of this as another possible wave of heavy rains could be on the way. Bill Cairns live in studio to explain just how this happened and the potential dangers ahead. But we're going to begin tonight with Ryan Chandler in the flood zone as the waters continue to rise.
In central Texas tonight, a catastrophic flood emergency. At least 13 people are dead, according to authorities, including children. And at least 20 kids are missing from a summer camp after a sudden surge along the Guadalupe River, north of San Antonio.
It's going to be a mass casualty event.
Authorities saying 14 helicopters are in the air. One rescuer dangling from a chopper, appearing to help someone up in a tree as flooding rages below. Cars lifting off the ground, swept away by the powerful waters. These steps leading to a house that's no longer there.
This is our house right here.
Another pushed down the road.
The water started to rise very rapidly. Rapidly.
Along the river, a series of summer camps. The La Junta camp for boys posting that everyone is safe. But some girls at Camp Mystic, trapped.
Now there are 20-some that aren't accounted for. We're praying for all of those missing to be found alive.
You can feel the anxiety here as parents are waiting to hear word about their child. We're told that these children are being transported by helicopter, the only way out of the camp, as parents wait to hear they've returned safely.
The county judge pressed on why the camps weren't evacuated.
We knew there was going to be a problem. Why weren't these camps evacuated?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
These camps were in harm's way. We knew this flood was coming.
We didn't know this flood was coming. Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming.
The tight-knit Texas towns across Kerr County are popular recreation areas. Len Clendenin and Rory Higgins were camping, asleep in their cabin when the water started rushing in.
Everything happened so terribly fast. There was mobile homes, travel trailers, cabins, vehicles, people in the water. It was devastating.
They took this video showing a building from the campground washing away. Their beloved border collie Ripper is still missing. flood threats were in place overnight. Because drenching rain flooded the riverhead, massive amounts of water got pushed downstream. At one point today, National Weather Service data showing the water rising nearly 30 feet in 1 hour. This region near the Guadalupe River is no stranger to floods. And in 1987, rapidly rising water killed 10 people.
Buses stalled out and the water was it was real deep, so we were going to try to get out and get to the road. It wasn't too far back, and it started washing people away.
Today's storm means one area park that normally looks like this is instead underwater. It was set to host 4th of July fireworks tonight. What was supposed to be a holiday celebration is now a nightmare.
This came at night when people were asleep in bed. Please pray for our community.
And Ryan Chandler joins us now from Kerrville, Texas. Ryan, we can't imagine what those parents are going through with at least 20 girls missing from that summer camp. I understand that parents have been told not to come to that area right now. Talk to us about the search and rescue efforts. How do they look at this hour?
Yeah, it's still a very active search and rescue mission, Ellison. Resources pouring in from all across the state. All afternoon, we've seen helicopters through this town surveying the land, but also helping to rescue those very young girls from the summer camp, the only way they could get out. We also know that drones and dive teams have been deployed to try and find those who may still be alive or to recover those who aren't. And Ellison, we're expecting to hear more later tonight when the governor, Greg Abbott, who was out of state this morning, is holding a presser coming back to the state tonight. That'll be at 9 o'clock local, where we expect to hear more about the efforts that are still ongoing to help this community heal. Ellison.
NBC's Ryan Chandler, thank you. For more on how much longer this catastrophic flooding will last, let's go to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, talk to us about how we got here. How did this get so bad so quickly? It seems like some people really weren't expecting to see it to this scale.
Yeah, with so many fatalities and then, 20 girls missing from a camp, the questions are being asked, why weren't these people evacuated beforehand? Why didn't they get out of the way? And this is just the definition of how deadly and destructive a flash flood can be. And a lot of times it can be isolated and not widespread. When everyone went to bed in this area, they knew they had thunderstorms in the forecast, but no one was thinking a river could go from 3 feet deep to 29 feet deep in 1 hour. I mean, that's unheard of. And so it all happened because we got about 2 to 3 months worth of rain in this area in about 6 to 12 hours last night. I mean, it was just an incredible amount of rain in the same areas, in the hills. The hills collect in the valleys have the streams, and then they all connected to the Guadalupe River. And these were some of the rainfall total. I mean, Mason, Texas, 17.8. San Angelo, Texas, 14.28. This is like the amount of rains you'd see with like a horrific tropical storm that stalls out over some areas. And river flood warnings do continue. We are going to see this water cresting. It's still flowing. We still have a wall of water going down here towards Canyon Lake, and that will be one of the issues. And Hallie, I mean, that 1 hour, 29 feet, that's a stat that just no one can believe.
Bill, New Jersey also experienced deadly weather yesterday. What other areas should Americans, or where else should Americans be on alert?
Yeah, so we still have a couple dangers out there, and the biggest one is likely going to be off the southeast coast. We have a tropical depression that the Hurricane Center is now tracking. We have tropical storm warnings that are up from Charleston up to the Wilmington area. So this is not going to be a big, huge hurricane. It's not going to be devastating, but it's going to ruin a lot of people's holiday weekend. It is going to be drifting here towards the South Carolina coast, and it's not going to be a so-called landfall because it's going to be a weaker storm, but it could become a tropical storm as we go throughout the next 24 hours. It's going to bring rough surf, waves, and rip currents. So that's going to be the biggest fear if we're going to have any lives lost with this system. People stay off the beaches and listen to your lifeguards.
All right, Bill Cairns, thank you. Our other major headline tonight, President Trump officially signing his so-called big, beautiful bill into law. The president holding a lavish signing ceremony at the White House, including one with a B-2 bomber flyover. It comes as anti-Trump demonstrations break out across the country on Independence Day. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell has more on what's in the bill and how it could impact Americans.
Merging patriotism and politics at the White House tonight.
Happy 4th of July.
The 4th of July festivities serving as a backdrop for President Trump to showcase his actions.
The one big, beautiful bill.
With a flourish and a Sharpie, he signed into law the massive bill that sweeps up his biggest policy objectives, supported by only Republicans. That includes tax cuts, funding border security, while making cuts to safety net programs like Medicaid and food assistance.
It's really promises made, promises kept.
Adding to the stagecraft, a salute in the sky to the June military operation that delivered strikes on Iran's nuclear program. The president said pilots and mechanics from that mission and their families are invited to this celebration. The president started what the administration considers a victory lap in Iowa last night.
Just as I promised, we're making the Trump tax cuts permanent and delivering no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
There are restrictions. Under the new law, workers who qualify can deduct up to $25,000 in tips from their taxable income. Susanna Castillo waits tables at Butcher Bar in New York and says this will help her save and spend on her family.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a big positive.
However, the new law is a new rallying cry for Democrats.
The largest cut to Medicaid in American history.
Who will argue to voters that Republicans chose to boost the rich while cutting food assistance and health care for millions. Heather Payne lives in Georgia and says she did not qualify for Medicaid after a series of strokes because she could not meet state work requirements, like those that will be implemented nationwide.
I think it is immoral and unethical to deny people medical care so that they can sicken and die. That's the way I feel about it.
And Kelly O'Donnell joins us now from the North Lawn of the White House. Kelly, you mentioned the president visiting Iowa last night, selling the country on this bill. Is this the first stop of a tour that we could see expand moving forward?
Well, very often when there's a big piece of legislation, the president does travel to battleground states to sell it. We don't know of any plans for that at this time. One of the things the president is touting is his plans for what to do for the 250th anniversary of the country's founding. That's today next year. And one of his ideas is to have a UFC fight with a ring and spectators on the South Lawn as part of the celebration. The discussion of what's in the bill and how it plays will certainly be a part of the midterm campaign trail, and Democrats will be dealing with that. And Republicans will have to answer when there are concerns about some elements of the bill. Ellison?
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you. And we're following breaking news in California, where authorities are still searching for 7 people after a warehouse filled with fireworks exploded this Tuesday. And that's not all. In the run-up to July 4th, there have been multiple incidents of accidental firework explosions. NBC's Camila Bernal has this story.
Heartbreak deepens after days of anguish. Authorities tonight confirming human remains have been found at the site of that massive explosion just outside of Sacramento. The victims not yet identified.
I wanted to see their clothes or anything that I know I will recognize it and said this was my son.
According to county officials, the company, Devastating Pyrotechnics, did not have a permit to store fireworks. The company did not respond to NBC News' request for comment. It's just one of several chaotic incidents involving fireworks around the country. In Nevada, officials say several people were hurt after fireworks were accidentally detonated on a mountain. In California's San Fernando Valley, a man killed in a fire caused by fireworks, according to authorities. And another deadly explosion in Ventura County.
The house fully shook, everything was moving, my TV was moving.
To prevent these types of incidents, the Riverside Police Department deploying drones to detect illegal fireworks.
It means we can respond to incidents faster and allocate our resources more effectively.
No!
Back in Esparto, families begging for closure.
My chest is heavy. It's so heavy.
And the Ramos family, they have been here every day since that explosion. They say it's just as miserable to be home as it is to be here, but they're hoping that being here will eventually lead to some answers. The mom telling me that she already went to the sheriff's office to give a DNA sample, but says she still has not heard anything back from authorities. Ellison.
Camila Bernal, thank you. Staying in California now, a massive wildfire is spreading north of Los Angeles, forcing evacuations and threatening dozens of structures. The Madre Fire, as it's called, has now scorched nearly 80,000 acres, making it the state's biggest wildfire of this year so far. And hot and dry conditions are not making things any easier. NBC's Morgan Chesky reporting on the ground for us tonight.
In Southern California, windward flames carving a brutal path. The Madre Fire exploding over the past 24 hours, scorching a massive area 2 hours north of Los Angeles. Air tankers doing their best to corral the flames that have now burned more than 70,000 acres. Crews working 24/7. This water drop saving at least one home amid ongoing evacuations.
What really fueled this fire spread over the last day or so?
The type of vegetation, the terrain that you're looking at, and when it's steep, those drainages go up like a candle. They heat both sides of the hill. It's going to run up a hill rather quickly.
Across the country, 90 large fires are burning, 31 of them uncontained. The majority of them are in the western United States, and this holiday, more than 7,300 firefighters and support personnel are battling the fires. In Alaska, red flag conditions prompting evacuation orders near Fairbanks, where 2 large fires are burning at 0% containment. While in Utah, the Forsyth fire is nearly contained after scorching more than 13,000 acres.
And tonight, back out here in California, as the Madre Fire now becomes the largest statewide fire so far this year, its cause remains unknown and under investigation. We'll send it back to you.
Morgan Chesky, thank you. Overnight, Russia launched its deadliest aerial attack on Ukraine since the start of the war. The attack coming less than a day after Russian President Vladimir Putin rejected the prospect of a ceasefire in a phone call with President Trump. NBC's Raf Sanchez has this one.
This is the sound of diplomacy going nowhere. Kyiv rocked by what Ukraine says is the largest Russian aerial assault of the entire war. 550 drones and missiles pounding the capital. Families spending the night huddled in bomb shelters. The attack began just after President Trump spoke to Vladimir Putin yesterday, but said he'd made no progress towards a ceasefire.
I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Putin, because I don't think he's there.
The Kremlin responding that it would achieve its war aims, either by diplomacy or force. Today, the president speaking with Volodymyr Zelensky, who said they'd agreed to work together to strengthen Ukraine's air defenses. But no public mention from him of the U.S. pausing some weapons shipments to Ukraine, including Patriot interceptor missiles needed to fend off Russian strikes. The Pentagon says it's prioritizing America's own military stockpiles. But 3 U.S. officials tell NBC News senior military officers found the aid to Ukraine would not jeopardize ammunition supplies for U.S. troops. While Kyiv residents survey the damage, it felt like something was flying in every minute, this woman says, and brace for more attacks to come.
And there are new concerns tonight about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. It is the largest nuclear plant in Europe, and the UN says it lost power for about 3 hours earlier today. Electricity was eventually restored, which is critical for keeping the reactor cool. But the UN says this underscores the danger of intense fighting in a country where there is so much nuclear infrastructure. Ellison.
Raf Sanchez, thank you. We're back tonight with money talks and a warning for consumers. This holiday weekend, instead of deals, you might notice price hikes, an impact of President Donald Trump's tariffs. Those increases already hitting major U.S. department store chains like Macy's, Nordstrom's, and Dillard's. So what more should you know about these hikes and what they could lead to next? Let's bring in retail insights expert for Retail Me Not, Stephanie Carls, for more. Stephanie, thank you for joining Top Story, especially on a holiday. Happy 4th to you. Let's talk about this because holiday weekends, for so many of us, they are known as being a time where if you're looking to get something, you can probably score a really great deal, right? But tariffs, they are impacting some of those traditional savings consumers have grown to expect, right?
That's correct. And we're seeing the price hikes quietly stack up in places that people are shopping every single day. So especially on shoes, bags, apparel, and with the back to school shopping starting, this is where families are truly going to be hit the hardest.
DataWeave, which is a price tracking analytics system, they've been tracking major retailers in this trend of price hikes since the tariffs went into effect, right? I want to show a chart that we have of monthly price changes in apparel at U.S. retailers. We can see there the increases from DSW, Macy's, as well as Nordstrom's. How are you seeing this impact the way people shop at some of these enormous department stores?
Well, these retailers like Macy's and Nordstrom are making these targeted adjustments. They're raising the prices on some of the private label items that refresh more often. We are also seeing that Nike is expecting to absorb up to $1 billion in extra cost, but most companies aren't able to do that across the board. And so people are trying to make those small and smart shifts. So at Retail Me Not, we're actually seeing that 60% of people have said that they've already started their holiday shopping. And this is just going to be one way that they can stay ahead of these rising prices.
Talk to us about in the coming days where people should be, or even today, where people should be looking to try and find deals, if they should maybe stock up ahead of birthdays or holidays, or if they're just looking for the traditional July 4th sale.
Well, these prices are rising in these specific categories like we've been talking about, but shoppers, they still have options. And I think the smartest thing to know right now is that this isn't about panic or those big changes that they need to do. This is about being more precise, and they're planning ahead. They can stack savings where they can. So those could be cashback options, of course, going in and enjoying these different sales that are happening, but also adding in those cashback options, loyalty rewards, and promo codes. And this is going to help you be more selective also about what you buy and also where you buy it. So this is how people are staying more in control, even as these costs are going up.
Stephanie Carls, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's turn to a special 4th of July celebration in Nebraska, 50 years in the making. One city unearthed one of the world's biggest time capsules today. NBC's Maya Eaglin was there, and she tells us tonight what she found inside.
In America's official July 4th small town.
Small town USA, 4th of July city.
The world's biggest time capsule, according to the World Record Academy. A classic roadside attraction for 50 years.
They found it. I can't believe they found it.
Finally unsealed, revealing a treasure trove of Americana. Half a century ago today, the town came together to freeze a moment in time.
Pet rocks, a teal-colored leisure suit, very, very much 1975.
Even an almost perfectly preserved Chevy Vega.
It took 3 days to crack open this 45-ton portal to the past. They even had to use a crane. And then it was a race against time to bring thousands of items up and out.
But it was some of the smaller items that got the biggest response.
This is clearly my mom's handwriting.
Chris Galen reuniting with this note.
I hope you had a good education, a happy, successful life.
That moment is what capsule creator Harold Davidson would have wanted.
I thought my dad was crazy. I think you need to be pushing 45 to understand how fast time goes, how little time you have to make memories with those you love. And that was what he was trying to do.
The thing I'm thinking about as I think about the time capsule is it's not about what's inside of it, it's about what's inside of us and who we were back in '75 and who we are today.
Honoring the past and the present on a day of celebration. Maya Eaglin, NBC News, Seward, Nebraska.
Next on Top Story, a gas station explodes in Rome, injuring dozens of people, including at least 10 first responders. Huge plumes of smoke seen billowing into the air, and the terrifying accounts from the ground. Plus, like father, like daughter, the young girl making public appearances alongside Kim Jong-un and the growing sign she might be the heir to a dictatorship. We're back now with Top Stories news feed, where we begin with rapper LL Cool J announcing that he will not take part in the Wawa Welcome America concert in Philadelphia. It was supposed to take place tonight. He says he will not do it due to a union strike. The hip-hop icon posting to Instagram Thursday saying he does not want to perform across a picket line. The mayor posting that she spoke with him and respects his decision and says he is always welcome. The union, which is the largest blue-collar workers union in Philly, has been on strike since July 1st. And in Rome, a huge explosion at a gas station left at least 40 people hurt, including 10 first responders. You can see it here, the large plumes of smoke, dark smoke, while firefighters were attempting to put out the flames. 10 police officers and 1 firefighter were among the injured. Officials say they were responding to a possible leak, but they are still investigating the cause of the explosion. And an air traffic controller strike in France is causing chaos in one of the busiest airports. More than 40% of flights heading in and out of Paris were canceled today as a result of the strike. The workers are protesting for better working conditions, but the transportation minister is calling their demands unacceptable. Officials are warning travelers to expect long delays at airports across the country. Staying overseas now to an NBC News exclusive. Our Richard Engel gaining access to a prison in Iran that once housed political prisoners. The jail hit by a recent Israeli airstrike. Officials there say dozens were killed, and what Richard and his team found inside when they returned to the site of the Iranian hostage crisis.
In Tehran's Grand Mosque today, the preacher denounced the United States and Israel and called their military strikes against Iran a crime.
The preacher just said President Trump wants Iranians to surrender. And their response is very clear. No and death to America.
Iran is trying to show strength. But for 12 days, the U.S. and Israel attacked this country relentlessly, targeting much more than its nuclear sites.
And we've just been given this extraordinary access to a place that was completely off limits.
The Evin prison held political prisoners. We were able to see what's left of this notorious jail after Israeli airstrikes destroyed the gates, administrative buildings, and a health clinic.
And there is something of a date stamp to this attack. The guards who are showing us around here, who don't want to be filmed on camera, say the Israeli strike happened right around noon, right before noon, and that is when this clock stopped at 10 minutes to 12. And you can see on the wall here, there's some blood streaks that clearly look like they were made by somebody's hand.
Iranian officials say nearly 80 people were killed here, including civilians. For Iranians, this latest war has revived tensions with the U.S. that go back decades.
And here in the center of Tehran is the former U.S. embassy where American diplomats were held hostage, and the walls are covered with anti-American murals and propaganda.
But inside the old U.S. Embassy compound, there's now a cafe.
Thank you very much.
Where you can order an Americano.
Things, when you're in a country, are often very different than they appear from the outside. Yes, the U.S. and Iran have major problems, but people to people. On an individual level, you don't feel the hatred. At the end of the day, people are just people.
Iranians tell us they'll fight back if attacked again, but don't want another war. Richard Engel, NBC News, Tehran.
In North Korea, dictator Kim Jong-un has been making more public appearances with the person many believe will succeed him as supreme leader, his daughter, Kim Jo-ae. Although little is really known about her, some experts say she's being groomed to one day become the first female ruler of North Korea. Here once again is Raf Sanchez.
At first, it looks like a typical scene of North Korean propaganda. The country's leader, Kim Jong-un, greeted by wild applause. Some weeping as he kneels by the coffins of North Korean troops killed fighting alongside Russia against Ukraine. But look a little closer. You'll notice the teenage girl at his side. Her name is Kim Jo-ae. She's the daughter of the dictator, and according to South Korean intelligence, she's likely being groomed to one day become the first female ruler of North Korea. Ever since the country's founding in 1948, it's been ruled by the men of the Kim family, power passing from father to son for 3 generations. Kim Jong-un and his wife are believed to have 3 children, but only Ju-ae has ever been seen publicly.
We know very little about her. What we've learned has largely come through the effort to propagandize her in pictures and footage. She's obviously never given any interviews, so it's a bit of a mystery.
That's because the North is as secretive as it is repressive. Even Ju-ae's exact age is unknown, but she's thought to be around 13 years old. The world only learned her name when former NBA star Dennis Rodman visited North Korea in 2013 and said he held her as a small baby. Her first official appearance was in 2022, baby-faced beside her father at the launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile, with the range to hit the U.S. But over the last year, she's appeared constantly at Kim's side, joining him at everything from the official launch of a prized new battleship to the surreal grand opening of this North Korean water park. Father and daughter watching their subjects surfing and shooting down elaborate water slides.
Kim Ju-ae is so young. Why is she being presented to the public now?
It's a good question. I think on the one hand, the North Korean leader wants to demonstrate continuity, that there is a future after him. On the other hand, he also doesn't want to present anything that is threatening to him. And so having a young girl as his potential successor removes any threats. It's not like there are going to be cliques forming around a 13-year-old girl.
Ju-ae's hair and makeup seem designed to make her look older than she really is. The style similar to that of her mother, First Lady Ri Sol-ju, a former singer. While North Korea has never had a female leader, and its top military and political officials are overwhelmingly men, there is at least one powerful woman inside the regime, the leader's younger sister, Kim Yo-jong. At her brother's side here during a meeting with the president of South Korea. Her fiery condemnations of the U.S. are often read out on state television. And while the Kims' decades-long grip on their country continues, other Korean families have been divided for generations by the militarized border that splits north from south, as we found during a visit 3 years ago.
Many South Koreans still have family in the north, people they haven't seen in decades in some cases, and so they come here and they leave ribbons with their hopes of one day being reunited. This one just says, "Dad, I miss you."
Those longed-for reunions still likely many years away, as the ruling family's next generation prepares for power. Raf Sanchez, NBC News.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.